Hello, Julie Barkas here, and joining me is
Michael Tassner. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Welcome to Get Connected. We're delighted to bring you our bi-weekly show. We're live Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And today we've got some really cool things to talk to you about. And I'm going to let Michael tell you a little bit about that, since I feel like I do a lot of the introduction. So we'll give Michael the platform to tell us about what we're going to be talking about. And as well, I'll let you take it from there.
Love it. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you're having a lovely week and enjoying some nice weather. In Buffalo, it's finally the sun is shining, starting to warm up a little bit, though. They're saying snow is coming, but I think hopefully that'll miss us. So we've got a fun agenda for today. So a lot of the centers that Julie is working with on a regular basis, that myself and my team are working with on a regular basis, they're starting to ask and kind of move the needle on, so what does kind of the new normal look like from a marketing standpoint? What does it look like from a managing my staff standpoint? Do we leverage tools like Zoom, for example, with the team? How do we continue to collaborate? We've had a lot of questions just around continuing to keep the team engaged, which I know we've talked a little bit about, but I know that we have a couple of fun tools that we wanted to share to kind of give you some of those insights, but really just kind of giving you content as to what can you start doing now. So a lot of the states are starting to reopen. I know that we're starting to see call volume and lead volume start to pick up with a lot of parents that are calling in saying, what's the next step? And there's still a lot of uncertainty, but as the owner or the director or the leader of your childcare center, you've got to make sure that you're giving that kind of that steady hand, so to speak. So if a parent is calling in saying, hey, what's the process? I'd like to look at getting my kids back in there in the next week or two, and you're kind of waffling on the answer, or you're kind of giving, we're going to kind of wait and see. That's not the best approach. So we're going to give you just lots of content around what can you be doing now over the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks to really get yourself ready. And then we'll also kind of flip back into how do you continue to stay engaged with your team in this virtual environment, and then maybe retouch on some of the stuff that we've shared a little bit in the past of continuing to stay engaged with those families from a virtual standpoint. So this whole new normal or whatever you would like to call it.
Yeah, sounds like an awesome show.
Definitely.
Now, I know you don't want to miss it. And if you're here tuning in, please share this out. We want to benefit as many people as we possibly can. And also give us a like and give us a love. It does help other people on the pages that we're broadcasting to see the video and to benefit from the information that we are sharing. And, Michael and I have been consulting in this industry for, especially me for a very long time, Michael, in other industries also. But there's just a wealth of information, and I don't want anybody to miss out on 1 second. And on the same note, if you have questions or if there's anything that we say that's unclear to you, feel free to leave us comments, leave us questions, and we will respond back. Especially on my business page, we'll both be going there, and I know on your page as well at Local Childcare Marketing, we'll be checking in. So make sure you ask a question. You could tag us, and we'd love to help you.
Definitely. So let's dive in. Do we want to talk about the kind of the virtual tours first, or not tours, but virtual tours is one of the topics, but the tools with your team? Do we want to talk about kind of next steps of what can they be doing now to really start getting those families kind of ready to come back? Where would you like to start? I'll throw that back.
Well, you know what I thought would be interesting? I want to throw this in there and see what you think of this is, I was thinking this morning when I was doing my workout about the biggest problems that we've both been solving over the past week. And I thought it might be interesting to share a case scenario. Maybe you have a problem that you've dealt with in the past week or couple weeks, and maybe some of the steps in there that you've helped the person work through, and then I could do the same. So
I love that.
With you concrete strategies. And of course, we're not going to be revealing names or companies or anything like that. But, I've been getting calls. I've been dealing with problems. We've been coaching our clients through things. And I'm sure you have as well, Michael. So I thought it'd be really interesting to start with a case scenario. So what is a call that you were on recently or a conference? And what was a problem that came up, and what was the resolution, and what were the initial strategies that you suggested as the next steps? And what I do want to do after we think about this segment, I do want to get into, getting yourself out of overwhelm during this time. And that is laying out your plan and laying out your strategy for what's going to be called, what I think is like, I don't know, some of these words are so overused. We could probably have a whole segment about overused words right now. The new normal, uncertain times, all these words that we're hearing, but we really want to get you out of a place of overwhelm and back into a place of confidence and moving forward. And that's really important to me.
Love it.
So let's start with you. So
yeah,
what's the problem that you've solved?
Got one that just came up on Monday. So perfect question. And it's one of my favorite things to do is to kind of talk through a case, and it obviously gives it a real life example. So because it is a real life example rather than just theory or in generality.
Right.
And if you like the content, as Julie said, give us some hearts, give us some shares, some likes, some thumbs up, all that good stuff. So
we both love interaction. So
definitely.
I think it's to serve you.
Definitely.
So we want to know that it's making a difference and that you're benefiting from this.
Definitely. I'd be lying to say if I'm not constantly checking the number of hearts and likes that we're getting during the show. So
I like seeing them float across the screen personally. It's like, oh,
definitely.
There's that one.
So the example that I'll give is a center based out in California, and a couple locations. And their challenge really was they've remained open, but like most centers, their enrollment has dropped drastically. So I believe they were down to maybe 30% from where they were. So I like to use simple numbers, especially early in the morning. Let's say they had 300 enrollments across the 3 locations. And let's just say that again, 100 were enrolled at each, that now they were down to give or take 30 enrollments at each location. So about a 70% drop at each location. And the question and the challenge really was, what do we do now? Like, what do we do now to start to create some cash flow? So it's not a conversation of, they weren't asking me, should we try and get the PPP loan, for example, or anything like that. It was more of, what is the message that we can start to put out to start to attract families? So what we did was we looked at each of the 3 locations in terms of exactly where they were located geographically, and not just the city, but we started to look at some of the surrounding businesses that are within a couple of miles. And what I was looking for really was, let's start to make a list of those essential worker type businesses. So doctor's offices, hospitals, some of the restaurants that are still open and doing takeout. So we started to make that list, and we found give or take 10, 15 different locations around each of their 3 locations. And then we really just started to talk through the copy and what is going to resonate. So we talked through, tell me a little bit more about the type of parent that is still enrolled at each of the locations. Now, the other 70 that made their decision to kind of pull their kids out, because again, they still were open, those are fine. And a lot of them are still engaged in doing some of the online classes that they're offering in the virtual environment. But I was more interested in, what were these 30 families at each location? What do they look like? What are their careers? What is their mentality? Where are they shopping? Where do they live? Like I needed more of those details, because for whatever reason, they decided to keep their kids in. So more likely, if we could start to attract those types of families with the right languaging, which I'll get to in just a second, that we could start to bring those people back in. So we started to notice that a lot of them were the essential workers. So a lot of them were nurses. A lot of them were support staff at the different hospitals. So this is not a insanely wealthy area. So they're not, serving all, kids of doctors and physicians and things like that. But a lot of them are more of those hardworking people that are supporting a lot of those essential businesses. Mm-hmm. So what we did was we crafted 2 completely different ad campaigns. So the first ad campaign is 100% geared towards those essential workers. So the ad copy, and I won't read it verbatim, but I'll kind of paraphrase it. The ad copy basically said, we've been open for you. We're still open for you. As one of the providers of childcare for essential workers, we're offering special scholarships. Click to learn more. So we started running this on Facebook ads. We're running a very similar ad on Google AdWords. And I'll also talk through what we were doing on video, because that's actually working extremely well to really help push that point home. So that was kind of ad copy number one, was basically focusing on those essential workers. And then from a targeting standpoint, we started to target all those different people that are in and around those locations that we identified. Because rather than just running the ad to everyone that's a parent that's within 10 miles of the center, for example, we wanted to make sure that the ad copy completely resonated with the person or people that would be reading it.
Yeah. So when you say ad copy, can I just clarify?
Please,
So
yes.
what type of ad is that? Ad copy Facebook, ad copy a letter, ad
Sure.
copy a postcard?
No, but that's great. Thank you for, sometimes I geek out a little bit too much.
I know, we all have our terms that we use.
So we're seeing the best success right now with Facebook ads and Google ads. So when we're working with the Child Care Center to drive leads for enrollment, 9 times out of 10, we're starting with those two platforms. So we also run ads on Instagram, on Pinterest, on a lot of other places, but for a center that's never run ads before, and that often is the case, where when I'm having a conversation about bringing in a new client, we call them members, but bringing a new client into the local childcare marketing family, normally they've never ran anything. Like, their normal reaction is, my entire marketing budget has been word of mouth, so my budget's been zero. So it does take some convincing to kind of start to show that. But Facebook has proven to be a really great place to get your copy, your ad, your image, your video in front of people, because you're able to hyper target. So rather than just going on Google AdWords, so if somebody were to go to Google and type in childcare near me, for example, you can do some targeting, but you're not able to target a nurse that works at XYZ hospital, for example. But with Facebook, we can say, let's run an ad to everyone that is a parent that is working at these 10 places, for example. And you literally can draft just some written text on Facebook, and that ad can say, attention essential workers at ABC hospital. We are 3.2 miles away from your hospital. We're servicing essential workers. We have special scholarships, and we will make sure that you don't have to worry about your kids because you already have enough on your mind.
Woo.
So that kind of hyper targeting, and it's not that challenging to do. And
I just want to make sure that we drive this home, because what you just shared with us, and once we wrap up, I want you to come back and rewatch this, because I think this is golden. Because Facebook ads right now, everybody's on Facebook. And a lot of people get stuck with their ads because it's like, well, what do I say? And how do I format? Michael just gave it to you, right? So he just gave you even how to target, and the different interest groups that you can target, and then the copy that you can write. So I hope you got that. If not, come back and rewatch, because that was golden. That was solid.
No, thank you. And it's all about, and this is one of the big lessons that I had to learn way back when. And I used to be in the e-commerce space. So I've had a lot of different businesses, and I'm an entrepreneur, true and true. And one of the things that I always thought with e-commerce was, I need to find the perfect product. So for me, step one was always, let's find this amazing product. So I would go to something like Amazon. Let's see what's selling well. Okay, great. It like right now, it's hand sanitizer, for example. Okay, great. Can I find something that's different and then start to sell? But what I learned was I was approaching it the completely wrong way. That rather than focusing on the product first, I needed to focus on the person. So what I would do was I would start to really niche down of, who is that person that I want to serve. I wouldn't even think about products. So one of them, I know this is obviously a little bit different than childcare, but I promise it relates to the targeting. So one of the businesses that I had was selling college care packages. So I started looking, well, who is the person? So initially I'm like, okay, it's parents. But then I started digging deeper into, so parents of college students, and I started going deeper. And we found that our best target was grandparents of freshman students that were going to school out of state. So what
Wow.
we did was wasn't a huge audience, but rather than targeting all the parents, which were, I mean, hundreds of thousands that are people that are going to college and all 4 years, we realized that freshman year was the kind of the most important year. And that's when most of the grandparents and parents were thinking about the kids and worrying the most. But then we found that the grandparents, more often than not, were wanting to order these things. So then we started to really gear all of our advertising. And in that stage of the game, we were doing a lot more direct mail, and direct mail would say, I mean, attention grandparents, do you want your grandkids to go hungry? Why not send them a fun care package? And then we started doing autopiloted things because we just got really focused on the person rather than, at that point, we didn't even have a product. I mean, we had like this chintzy little care package, but we started to develop it after we really got to know who we were serving. So with this childcare example, and I promised it would come full circle, if you really know down to the core of the persona of the family of the people that you're aiming to bring into your center, that you're aiming to attract, you can really write compelling content. You can better craft your website content. You can have a better voicemail script, or you can have a better script when someone calls in, because you know exactly who you're targeting, and you're not having to just speak, I guess, in generalities, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really important. And this, I mean, this is really good stuff. And I've just started diving into Facebook ads. And for me, it was a scary place to go to, because I'm like, oh, I don't do the Facebook thing. I don't do the Google. But with the t-shirt line, we kind of dove in and I'm like, okay, how do I get this out there? And Facebook is just so powerful. And, you know, you can really dwindle down those interests so that you're attracting that very specific kind. So I think, you know, good step is to get really clear on who it is that you want to attract. So if we look at the new normal side, I know we're still talking about case scenario, but I'm going to weave this in, is if we're looking at the new normal, I mean, really think about who is it that you want to attract. And this is something I recommend for staff as well as for clients. And Michael's giving you some great strategies to really, and I love that he's using that word too. But it's about attracting these kind of people, the ones that you really want to work with, because how many times have you taken on clients? And I'll talk to people, they're like, yes, we're full, we're full. I'm like, yeah, but are these your dreamy clients? Are these the people that you would love to work with? And they're like, well, maybe not so much. So now, as we're looking at moving forward, get clear, define what these people look like. And that's going to be a huge, huge leap to making that happen for yourself.
Definitely. No, I love that. Love that addition to this.
Yeah.
So we started off running those ads, and the beautiful thing with paid traffic, and I think I wrote an article on Forbes called "Your Marketing Could Be Free When You Leverage Paid Traffic," because it really should be. And this takes out for some reason, it's tough to, I guess, grasp initially. But if you put, just again, simple numbers, you put $1,000 in, for example, it's going to spit out X amount of leads, and you're going to have to nurture those leads and call them back several times and text them and email them. We're finding that the centers are having to call and text and email almost 2 or 3 times more than they normally would, even though everyone is at home. You just got to get through the noise of life, and everyone's moving in a million different directions. So rather than saying, because this is a conversation I have all day, every day, Michael, the leads aren't good. So what do you mean? Well, we tried calling once, only one person answered, and he forgot that he even filled out a form. So how many other times did you call? Did you text? Did you email? It said, well, no, we just weren't getting a hold of people. So you have to make sure that your follow-up game, and this will be a conversation for a different episode, but your follow-up game has got to be on point. It's got to be on point, because what I don't want you to do is you start to invest in paid traffic and Facebook ads and Google, and if it doesn't work instantly, you get discouraged, or you just start to look at, well, some people raised their hand, but nobody enrolled yet. So you got to play the long game, but you've got to make sure that your follow-up is on point. And we found that the more targeted we can have those ads, the better. So if you are running an ad again to ABC Hospital and it's really specific, those leads that come in are going to be very, very qualified because it was targeted to maybe only a few hundred people. So those I want you to look at running. But then the second piece of this was, so we had that was piece number one of what do we do now? So those were the first ads that we started to roll out. And then the second set of ads were a little bit more broad. And I encouraged them to do a couple of short videos with their phone. And they said, well, geez, so we haven't done that. And all the excuses in the book, which I always try and anticipate the pushback or the excuses and already give them a solution. Like, oh, we have to hire a videographer and they're all closed. And they said, no, we're going to do it with your iPhone. And, well, I don't have a stand. Okay, I'll put a stand in the mail. It'll be to you in 2 days on Amazon. And so try and anticipate all those objections. But the video was really just, it was just a heart-to-heart video that was transparent. It was authentic. It really wasn't scripted. I gave them a couple of talking points, basically of here's where things are at. Here's what we're seeing. But really, what the families want to hear now is here's what we're doing to make sure that you and your children are safe. And it's just more of a branding message. It wasn't a full-blown call to action. So it wasn't, here's an update, here's what we're doing to keep you safe, click to enroll now. It was more of a branding message. And we just literally started running that yesterday. It's already had like 12,000 views. We've had about 45, 50 comments when I looked before this video of people asking, when do you anticipate you're going to open? So even though in the video they said that they were open, some people, I guess, didn't catch that. And are you taking new kids in? So it started to generate some really good conversations.
Yeah. So
we attacked it from both angles. We attacked it from who do we know needs childcare now that will be, I don't want to use the phrase an easy sell or easy close, but I mean, who are the people that aren't going to need as much convincing? Because a lot of the parents are calling and saying, calling to get details to see if I'm going to enroll in the next couple of weeks. So they're using if words and then they're saying next couple of weeks. So it's very, very open-ended. So they're kind of more in that reshopping phase. So I said, well, who can we bring in now that needs help, that will most likely want to enroll? So we started running those ads. They've already added, I believe, 7 enrollments. So happy to see that. And I mean, that's 7. I believe their tuition is about $1,000 a month. I mean, it's California, and it's a little bit more expensive. But I mean, everyone's tuition varies. I've seen as low as $500 a month, as high as almost $2,000 a month. But I mean, that's revenue that's coming in. They have other leads. So those are just people that have already enrolled in the last couple of days. The branding video is generating some good buzz, some branding, some conversations. And that really, I'll wrap up my piece and then push it back into your neck to give a good case study and scenario. But it's all about just having those conversations. That is all that I'm encouraging the childcare centers to do right now is, what can we do to generate some conversations? How can we continue to get your name out there? We're finding video is converting so much better than just a picture with some text. So short little video. I mean, hey, this is Michael over at ABC Childcare. Thank you so much for all the families that have continued to keep your kids with us. We're making sure we're keeping you safe. And you're just continuing to get your name out there, but just having those conversations. And that, I promise you, will start to serve you very, very well as things continue to reopen the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, if we were to say that there is one secret to building, and maybe we'll have to do that as a teaser for this show, is, it's like the number one secret to growing your enrollments or building your enrollments or, getting a full enrollment during these times. I think the secret is conversations. Exactly. And Michael has different approaches that he takes with his clients getting those conversations. And I've got some different ways that I encourage those conversations, but it's about having the conversation. If we're not having conversations, our energy is being depleted and we're not energetically in the zone of attracting anything or anybody to us. So I think that was a great story. I think that was fantastic.
Sorry, I
Woo.
got a little bit long-winded there, but I like you, very passionate about this stuff, and I really believe that now is just there's never a better time than the present to get those conversations out there. And
Yeah.
I know that you're seeing it. I'm seeing it. I mean, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're seeing call volume starting to go up, leads starting to go up. So you've got to make sure that you pounce on things as we speak. So would
Yeah.
love to hear kind of a real life example that you've went through, kind of a challenge, and kind of how you talk that through and
Yeah.
execute it on your side.
I'm thinking, should I go with staff? Should I go with enrollments? So we could, and to me, the way that we look at things, it's very holistic. So I really look at the whole picture in terms of, what area are we struggling in most? So a lot of times when our clients or when people call in, they're almost kind of confused about what piece of the puzzle they need to implement first. So I'll go into a call that I had the day before yesterday with a multi-site owner. And again, in one of the nice warm states out in the West and in Arizona. And, he was really concerned about staff members coming back. And he's like, everybody's sitting at home, they're doing the numbers, and I'm really concerned that they're not going to want to come back. And they're just, they were in the process of reopening a couple sites, and they've got another one that they're reopening. And he's sitting there thinking, they're getting paid more by not being here. They're probably entertaining other opportunities. What's going to make them want to come back to me? So when we dug into this issue, first of all, I had to help him see that it's really a mindset shift that he needed. Because if we start thinking that we're not worthwhile, or that people aren't going to want to be part of our vision, or whatever it might be, we really have to change it to thinking the thoughts that I'm always attracting amazing people. And whether your current staff come back or you tap into your own powerful ability to attract new staff, and right now is an ideal time to do that. The staff members to support your vision are here. And this is a mindset, principle that I teach and that we deal with a lot, and it goes along with the law of attraction. And there's more laws that go into that. But we have clients, I'll go kind of off the board here. We have clients who basically shift their mindset, and then they're able to get calls for a classroom that they've never been getting calls for. And they start getting calls for those classrooms. And not only that, they fill enrollments. So we had one of our clients, Cindy, who took her program from not getting any calls, I think it was for her 2-year-old group, to where in a weekend she got 17 enrollments.
Wow.
Yeah, for a class that she was never getting calls for. So to me, it's about the energy behind the intention that's going to drive the result that you want to see. So if we hang on to the energy of fear and desperation with our staff, that's the kind of result that we're going to get. People right now, especially right now, and this is what we talk through with this owner, is they are looking for somebody who they feel is going to enhance their life and some place where they can make a true impact and a true difference. And if that impact and if that true difference is with you and they feel it, they're going to be inspired to come back, even if the pay is lower. But they have to feel like their life, and this is true for clients as well as for staff, is going to be enhanced by being in your energetic presence. So to me, a lot of the work that we do, and the 2 calls I had this week, was really shifting the energy behind the intent to get the result that we desire. So, and an easy example that I always use is when you think about your help wanted ads, or even if you're putting out your Facebook ads, right? If you get into a place of, oh my gosh, I'm going to attract the most amazing people, and I can't wait for them to come, and I'm going to start preparing for them to come. I'm going to start putting the enrollment packets together. I'm going to start putting welcome letters together for my staff. That's how you're going to start transforming the result. And to me, that's a big mindset piece that is imperative that you incorporate with whatever strategy you're using. And we have to make sure that our mindset is aligned with our vision, the vision that we truly want to have happen. And that's where we dig in deep with our owners, is with this owner who called me and said, I don't know if staff are going to come back. And I'm like, well, why do you feel that way? And he gets into the money and this and that. I'm like, okay, that's the problem. Now, what we really need to do is keep our focus on the solution, on the result that you want to transpire. So I asked him the question, and I encourage everybody to write this question down. And that question is, what is it that you really want? So what is it that you want to bring to life? And I want you to think about that. I want you to write it down. And this is what I told him as his homework. Write it down and then come back and let's talk, because a lot of owners are like, I don't know what I really want. I mean, we have a program and we need to get it full, or we need to have certain staff in place. But that's because they've been listening to the outside noise for way too long, right? Right now, we've got the news, we've got the media, we've got COVID this, we've got that going on. And there's lots of things that we can't control in the picture. But what we can control are the thoughts that we think about what's going on, so that we can be the person driving a whole different result to ourselves than anybody else is experiencing. And people are going to stand back and go, wow, how's she doing that? How is he doing that? How's he making it happen? So that's one place that we start with, is really shifting the mindset. And like I said, we had we have lots of mindset calls, but two powerful examples that stand out this week. A multi-site owner worried about staff coming back. So instead of worrying about staff coming back, it's a matter of, how many staff do you want to come back? What do you want those staff members to look like? How do you want to feel when those staff members are back? And then you start feeling that way and shifting your energy right now as if the result is already here. I don't know. Does that help? Is that a good?
I like that a lot. No, I mean, I think because I always like to, I'm taking things and processing and thinking through, and it's so important now. And I know that you've talked and always talk a lot about mindset. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of the center owners and directors and leaders, they downplay it a little bit.
Yeah.
And now more than ever, it's as if you've said it many, many times. I mean, you're going to get and attract based on the energy that you're putting out there. And I've had the same kind of conversations where the owners are saying, okay, well, they're making more money at home. But it goes back to the episode that we did, I think 2 episodes ago, of having a compelling vision, which was just, I really love that episode, and how that you kind of phrase the content and the action planning. And if you have that compelling vision, money is typically not the number one motivator for why these people are working at your childcare centers. I mean, like you, they want to be helping the kids, and they love the interaction and the families and the atmosphere and the culture. Yeah. I mean, I would also encourage you to take a look at, are there any changes that you want to make to your culture in going forward? I mean, do you need to relook at some of your policies and things like that? And I'm not saying that your policies are right or wrong, but maybe, flexibility needs to be one of your core values, because you've also got to keep in mind the mindset of the people that are working at your center. So they're probably not going to be as, what's the right word? Maybe empowered as you are. Maybe they're not listening to, this type of training. So, you've got to help continue to coach them and mentor them. And they're looking for a leader. Your team's energy is going to mimic the energy that you're putting out there. And
my goodness, yes.
If they see you showing up to calls and you're nervous and you're kind of hiding behind your keyboard and you only want to do business with them through email or text, now is a great time to just be raw and real and authentic. But couldn't agree with you more. About making sure that your mindset is in the right place. And even, as you said, write down what you actually want to attract. That there's all the studies that talk about goal setting and things like that I don't even know what the percentage is, but you probably know, but it's like 3x if you actually write your goals down, or 3x a chance to have it. So I think that would be a great homework assignment for everyone, to really write down what you want to attract over the next couple of days.
Yeah, and really be looking at every area of your life, because the whole idea of attracting the right people is you're not going to attract people who are above your own mindset. And if you do, they're not going to stay very long. And this is true for clients. This is true for, especially true for staff, right? They're going to be like, oh, something's off and it's just not a good match. But you're not going to be able to attract or to sustain engagement with people who have a higher level mindset than you. And this is why it's really important to start elevating your mindset right now to where your mindset is like 10, 20, 50 times, surpassed our people, because we need to be able to lead them to a certain place. And most times it becomes very confusing as to, well, where are we going? What kind of journey are we taking? And is the journey just to make it through the daily stress? Or is there a vision beyond the daily stress that's going to propel everybody into action? That's going to propel them to work with a sense of urgency and to be really totally productive for you and your childcare program and the results that you want to accomplish. And crisis is such a wonderful time to see how is everybody functioning, because everybody pulls together in a way that they don't do regularly. But regularly, when there's no, in the normal times, when there's no crisis, there's no pandemic, the building's not crumbling down, then it's when the gossip sets in and the negativity and the drama and all that kind of stuff. So getting back into the new normal, we have to understand that things are going to go back. A lot of the ways that we communicated previously are going to resurface again once people are coming back to work and they're, getting refocused, and then we're back into the norm of working with each other, and just kind of, it's going to come full circle to where it's like, well, wait a second, the new normal doesn't feel so much different than the old normal.
Sure. Really good book that came to mind as you were talking is a book called Enjoy the Ride by Steve Gilliland. And I've read it a few times, and I just reread it last week. And that's really the book is just about, enjoying it. And again, I completely understand that there might be chaos all around you, but you can pull through this and you can come out of this. And it's all about taking the strategic actions. As Julie said, it's about getting your mindset right. It's about taking inspired actions. One of my first life coaches, Matthew Ferry, way back when, that was one of his phrases that he used often. Inspired action.
Inspired action. Love it.
Yeah, it's a really good phrase. And it's just starting to move the needle. And that's why we're doing these shows twice a week, because we want to make sure that you are taking action. And a lot of the centers are still kind of on the sidelines, not knowing kind of what to do next. So that's why we're here trying to coach you and uplift you and mentor you and bring some fun and joy and inspiration into your lives and your businesses as well. So always appreciate everyone joining us and tuning in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we got some great shows coming up too in the future weeks, and we'll be keeping you posted about those. But if there's any questions that you have for us, like questions, concerns, future topics you want to see addressed, feel free to leave us a comment, and of course, give us likes, give us loves, and we love the love. So but a lot of times people are shooting in the dark, and I'm sure you've seen this with clients who you got the most brilliant strategy ever, and they either don't implement it, or they, they implement it in the incorrect way. And to me, it comes back, and I have clients like that too, where it's like, I'll say the same thing and they're with me for a year and I've been telling them to do the same thing. And then finally they take that big, brave step and they do it. And they're like, oh my gosh, that got me so many results. I'm like, yes, a lot of the results that we're going to get are going to come from the place where we find that we're resisting something. So when we feel like, oh, well, wait a second, and I'm a huge believer, a lot of my strategy revolves around strategic partnerships that you build with people in the community, conversations that you have, sharing goals with different business owners. And there's specific ways to do that. And right now, you could even, so one of my big strategies is like, find some business owners who also are going to be attracting the same kind of clients, do a virtual coffee with them and have a conversation about how you can mutually benefit each other. And this is where a lot of our clients will get stuck. But the point I'm going to go back to is that you got to shift your mindset, and you got to do the mindset work so that the strategy that you do implement gets you transformational results. And don't blindly, like a dartboard and a dart, just start shooting and saying, oh, okay, I heard we should be doing this. I heard we should be doing this. We should be doing this. We should be doing this. And then you've got this list of 100 things that you feel like you should be doing, and you're so overwhelmed by all of it. When you could really simplify it, and especially us entrepreneurs, We can complicate things like crazy. I know I do it all the time, but we can complicate things. So it's a matter now of saying, how do we do this simply and easily? And it's deciding what you want and then laying out the 3 to 5 action steps that are going to get you there.
Love it. Love it. So let's, I know we have another 15 minutes or so left. I would love to, we had a couple of quick questions around, I guess, either tools or software, different ways that that they can engage with the families, they can engage with their staff. I'd love to share a couple of tools, and if you have some tools that you'd like to share, would love to hear those as well. So I'll kind of give you a couple that some of the centers that are using now more than ever. So the first one that I wanted to share is a tool called Tiny Pulse. And this is a great tool to use with your staff, because what it does is it sends out a couple things. But the first thing that it does is it sends out a weekly question that is, it's already preloaded for the whole year. You can go in and modify the questions, but it sends out a question like, what's one of the things that our business does best? Is there anything you'd like to see change? So there's all these, I mean, those types of questions, but once a month, it sends out the question that I personally think is one of the most important questions. And that is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm miserable, to 10 being I'm through the moon happy. How happy are you? So that is the tool. And it sends these out, and it's 100% anonymous. So there's absolutely no way that you can track and see who's sending what. So that is one of the cool things about the tool. But the other thing that it does is it has something called, and this is, so I like that piece, but the other piece that I really like is a tool that's within it called Cheers for Peers. And this allows anyone on your team to just send a little virtual, it's kind of like a virtual hug, a virtual cheer, a virtual high five. So they can say, I mean, hey, Sarah, thank you so much for, staying late and helping with this, or, and it doesn't, just anything and everything. And I actually use the tool internally as well, but we're finding that it's showing your team that you're very interested in their happiness. So it puts team member happiness really as a prime focus. Mm-hmm. So like, hey, we're focusing on this. You're going to get a question once a week. I read these. I cannot see who is submitting what. So I really like that piece. But then the Cheers for Peers, it just, again, creates just those fun little moments. And then what we do once a month, and what I've been encouraging the childcare centers to do, is once a month, put everyone's name on there that received a cheer on a little virtual wheel, and spin it and just give out some fun prizes. So nice. We do an extra day off. We do $100 cash. We do some gift cards. We do a swag bag, different things like that. But that is one tool that we've been finding that it just helps you stay connected virtually. And just continue to keep your face kind of front and center. So that's one of the tools. I've got a couple others, but I would love to hear if you have any tools or recommendations to kind of stay connected with your team in particular.
I love it. One of the things, I'll keep it simple. There's a couple, and maybe I'll add this one in before we wrap up. But Facebook groups, I'm going to kind of play on what Anna was talking about on our last show. To me, Facebook groups, it's easy. Your staff is there. But what I would do as an owner or director is to go into that Facebook group and do a little live video. Take your cell phone out, super easy, hit the live button, go live in your group, and just share a quote, share a part of your vision, share a part of your story. But most importantly, be that inspirational leader that they look at and go, wow, yeah, I can't wait till we're all back in that energetic flow with each other. But if you come into your Facebook group and do a live video, so my tool is your Facebook group and your video camera, just go in. And this is a great strategy, even on a normal basis for Sunday evenings. We coach our clients to do this on Sunday evenings. One of our clients started this, and she really states the expectation for what the week's going to unfold. So she comes live with an inspirational message. I can't wait to see you all this week. And it's going to be a fantastic week. And we're going to make a difference, and we're going to impact the vision and the lives of so many children. Whatever it is that you want to say, but be that inspirational force and plug into that Facebook group that you could create just for your staff, and record a little daily 1-minute motivational message that everybody will have access to when they could get on Facebook.
I like that a lot.
No.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So kind of going along with what you just shared, it's very similar, but there's a couple of different tools that you can use, but we used project management tool called Teamwork. So we use Teamwork Chat, but Slack is another. Slack is another tool as well, but it's similar to kind of having your Facebook group. But what it allows you to do is kind of have different channels. So that's one of the things. I mean, I like the Facebook group, and we have one as well for our team. But what we did was we kind of created all of these different channels. And one of the channels is called Positive News. So every day I go in there, I share a quote, and then throughout the day, we're sharing any wins. So kind of like you're ringing a bell, and if you're on a trading desk floor thing in one of those stock trading movies where they're ringing a bell and they're getting all these orders. So new enrollment is coming in, for example, you would be posting about that. New hires, families returning, any milestone dates, your birthdays, anniversaries of the team, like just all the positive stuff, because that, goes back to the mindset piece. And it's just, you're trying to flood the network on there and flood their brains with good news. So that's one of the channels. And then we just have other channels. So we have one, Ask the CEO, and they can just go on and ask any questions. And once or twice a week, I'll go in and answer all of those, but I don't want them to forget the questions, so they can load the questions in there. As I answer them, then I remove the question to know which ones I answered. We have one on there just about kind of HR stuff where they can go and quickly find things. So if they wanted to, I'm sure there's certain HR questions you're getting all the time, and where do I get my pay stub, or different things like that. So it's part of a kind of communication and keeping kind of good news and positivity out there. But then it's also just another one of those virtual tools to kind of help eliminate some of the back and forth that you might be getting with emails or text messages or different things like that, to kind of keep it organized. We found that the more organized we can help keep our team, the better that we're going to do in the coming months as well.
Yeah, that's a great one. I love it. We use Voxer, which is we don't have it divided into different channels like you do, but I think that's a really cool idea. I like that a lot. And one of the things, I'm a huge advocate, I'm always preaching about project management systems, because instead of having a person to manage products or projects, you could have your system. And I've used Teamwork, I've used Monday, I've used so many different ones, Basecamp. One of my favorites right now is ClickUp.com. To me, it's very intuitive. It's very easy. And but check some of these out. They all offer free trials. And the cool thing is to me, like when you delegate tasks, right? Instead of saying, oh, I delegated it, then I got it back and I was disappointed by the result. Instead of delegating it and just doing it over and over and over and over and over and over verbally, use a tool like ClickUp, or Asana is another one. And they've got a really nice free program, and all of these have some great templates too. You line up all the specific tasks in the project management system, and then you could copy these tasks. If you have turnover, you could say, okay, now I'm changing. This was assigned to Susan, and now it's going to be assigned to this person, and they get an email with notifications. So it really helps you duplicate yourself without actually having to find that person who can make another you, because I think that's going to be a while before that happens. But it actually allows you to take your brain and everything that you know and put it into a project management system where you can detail step by step by step by step by baby step, and then just do it. So, for example, your new staff orientation process. You can lay it all out step by step and then have it be there for every single person and see how are they advancing and progressing through our process, because this is where I know the ball gets dropped a lot. A lot of centers don't even have a new staff orientation process or an onboarding process, let alone follow through on it. And like Michael was talking about earlier, follow-up is so important with these phone calls. The fortune is in the follow-up with your staff and with your clients. And it's really important, because if staff are becoming disengaged and they're like, oh, they're new and you did a happy dance and now you get on with your day, they're forgotten about, it can lead to a lot of quick turnover. But if you have your new staff orientation process all mapped out, blueprinted out in a project management system, you could just repeat it for every single person. And on the same note, too, if you have an open house, and open houses will probably look a little bit different going forward, because we're not going to be cramming 100 people into our center or getting as many people there as we possibly can, but maybe it's going to be a small group of 10 or 50. But whatever it is, you map out the different steps that you went through to create that open house, to get the open house open or facilitated. And then the next time you go to do one, you've got all the steps laid out. And you could just delegate those different pieces of the puzzle out to different people who can help you get through it, so that you're not the one who's feeling a ton of overwhelm from everything that you've got on your plate. So my favorite is ClickUp. I think that's a fantastic tool.
I'll share. No, I think I told you I'm looking at ClickUp also. So I always have shiny object syndrome. But the only other tool that and there's plenty of great tools that you could use. I know I've looked at Voxer, and I'm going to relook at that one. The only other one for today, because we don't want to also overwhelm you, because we want to make sure you're taking strategic actions and things like that. But definitely couldn't agree with you more, Julie, is that one of the phrases that I use often, because we're not perfect. No one's perfect. And a lot of times we have errors or things that go wrong. And I inherently sometimes will try and either blame myself or blame the individual. But what I've been saying probably for the last 6 months is that people do not fail, systems fail. So almost every time that I've looked at a situation, it has been that we didn't have the right system. The system wasn't documented. So there was an example. We sent an email, there's 2 typos. And then I'll say, okay, well, let's look at the system. Well, geez, it didn't, I wrote it. And then I sent it to someone on our team and said, send it. In my head, I thought that they were going to have someone proof it, or they would proof it. In their head, they assumed that I already did that. So it wasn't I could blame myself and say I wrote an email with 2 typos. I could blame them saying, why didn't you proof it? But it was a systems issue. So BombBomb.com is the other tool that I wanted to suggest.
Love BombBomb.
And this is great for staff. It's great for enrollments, families, prospects. And it literally, you just need a webcam. It's video email. So you can, do a little shout out. Hey, happy birthday. And it goes right to their email. It's got a little bit of an animated GIF in the email. So it's not just an image. That's kind of their secret sauce, is that it inserts these little animated GIFs. So it's, again, you're not just putting a video and linking over to a video on YouTube, for example. Yeah. It allows you to customize it. So like we do a fun little one that'll say just following up, and there's like a cup of coffee at the top of the template. There's a link to schedule a call. So you could have a link to schedule a tour right on there. So it's like $20 or $30 a month if you wanted to try it out. Free trial, like everything nowadays. But it's just another fun way to elevate yourself. That I want you to start thinking outside the box. I want you doing things that are different than you have been doing things in the past, because that really is going to be key over the next couple of months. Is I don't want you like the analogy used of just throwing darts at the board, but I definitely want you to really stretch yourself a little bit. And if you've only done follow-up through email or only sent an email newsletter, well, maybe your first step is that Facebook group, for example. So start to get outside your comfort level a little bit, and then report back to us on the actions that you're taking and some of the wins and things like that. So I know we're going to do some prizes each week, and we had a contest on Tuesday. So we will go to our groups once a week and kind of announce the winners. So we like to reward action takers, and we want to hear about your success and see that you're trying out new tools, that you're improving your mindset by writing down kind of that vision, for example, and how are you better engaging with your team? Tell us about that stuff. Comment on the pages, ask questions. We are here at your service.
Yeah, and let us know where you get stuck too. And that could always prompt us into another teaching segment. So if there's something you want to do, like your Facebook ads, or you really want to shift your mindset or get your vision in place, or transform your team, let us know where that becomes a challenge for you, and then we could also guide you in that direction. But I do want to touch on Michael's point about BombBomb, and that's BOMB. If you can imagine just receiving an email where somebody looks like they're talking at you. So it's like Michael will send me video emails, but it's like he's there talking. So what do I have to do? I have to click on the email. Like, what is he saying to me? And that's the beauty of using a tool like BombBomb. Instead of it just being, an image, it's actually you open up your email and it's like me saying, hey, did you do this today? Or, hey, it was great to meet you. And it just becomes a much more engaging tool. So I'm a fan of BombBomb as well. And Michael, definitely is practicing what he preaches, because he sends me video emails, and and it's fun to see him talking just to me.
Oh, it's also easier.
Yeah.
So I know that you love audio as well. Like, it's so much easier to just take out your phone and to shoot an audio, and it's just so much better than just sitting down and crafting an email for 30 minutes when you can do a 2 or 3 minute audio and explain everything. And if someone needs to re-listen to it, so just leveraging the technology that you have available. So
yeah, and I love that, and the things like with video and everything that you're talking about, it's just like your personality comes through and people feel like they get to know you. And it's so different than sending an email versus like, hey, here I am, I'm a real person here to help you.
Exactly.
And which probably is why we're doing the show.
Exactly. I mean, it's very, I like you, we're both writers and have written several books each. And it's easy to, I wouldn't say it's easy to write, but it's just another method, and you're kind of sitting down and you're having to be disciplined about it. But I've just found that you're able to just have a much deeper connection, and it's more fun, and there's like the back and forth with you and I, and just being able to, for me, seeing something in video just connects so much more than just reading about it in written words. So
yeah, and here's the thing too, and I know we're going to give them some homework, but just do a live video. Everybody, just get your camera, do a live video. And what I want you to notice is, how do you feel before? Write down some feeling words. And then how do you feel after? And I'll be really surprised if you don't say that your energy shifted in a bigger way that allows you to step up into a bigger game that you're playing, a bigger vision. And I always notice that. And if I'm feeling like a little sad or depressed, or like, oh gosh, when can I be on the stage speaking again? I do a live, and it's like, okay, cool. That shifted my energy. So I really challenge you, do your live video and then see, and I'll give this as my homework if that's okay, but
Please.
See how your energy shifts from the time you start to you're finished. And it's like, woo, I did it. I walked through it.
Love it. So there's homework assignment number 1.
Yes.
Homework assignment number 2 for me is to really nail down your perfect persona. I like the word you use, the dreamy family, but who, and it could be who it has been, or I challenge you to look at, who it could be in the future. Maybe you haven't thought about targeting, hospitals, for example, are those essential workers. I would love to have you post a short little snippet of, this is my ideal persona, and I'm using the fancy term persona, but the family that you want to attract to your center. What do they look like? Where do they hang out? Where are they shopping? What are they reading? I'm happy to share a template, which I will do. It kind of formalizes this, but give me just a couple of bullets. This is where they hang out, where they live. So they're, 35 to 45 years old. They have 2 kids. They're both working parents. They tend to work long hours. So give me some of that. And I'd be happy to go in and make sure you're moving in the right direction, give you some digital coaching and feedback. I'm sure Julie will do the same as well. So.
Yeah, and I do want to add in another home. Can I do this? Can I add like another piece? So we've talked about this, but I think it's really important, and it's totally in alignment with what you're saying, is also write down what you want. Look at every area of your life, financial, physical, spiritual, and start identifying those pieces. See, when you get really clear on what it is that you want, that gives your big vision fuel. So a lot of times we're like, well, what is the big vision? And then I'll back it up. But if you can't get to that place, just start identifying, what is it that I really want? Do you want full enrollments? Do you want 85% enrollment? I mean, what is it that you want? What kind of staff? And get really clear on that piece. And I would love for you to post it. And I could also include a template if you would like one for helping you get clear in those areas. Just leave us a comment, let us know, and we are here to support you.
Love it. So we will end with a quote. Would you like me to give a quote, or do you have one?
I do have one, but if you want to give one.
No, please go ahead. I'll
okay.
let you,
So one of my early inspirations was Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote the book, The Power of Positive Thinking. And this was like in my late 20s. I was going through some really tough times, and I started digging into all of this like life-changing material. And one of the first quotes that I kind of took a big bite out of and just digested and still digest to this day is one by Norman Vincent Peale. And it says that if you could change your thoughts, you could change your world. And I want you to think about that. If you could change your thoughts, you can change your world.
Love it. That is a perfect quote to end today's episode. So I hope you'd enjoyed the content today. I know that Julie and I always have a lot of fun hanging out and delivering this content to you. Any questions you have, comments, etc., please feel free to post them. We will make sure to get back to you. Share this, like it, all that good stuff, and enjoy the rest of your week and weekend. And we will see you back here on Tuesday, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern.
All right. Thank you.
See you guys.